All right, March Madness. Let the chaos continue here, and a very happy Friday to you now. Round of 64, day number 2. We have got you covered here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show, live here on this Friday with 3 of the best at WagerTalk here to go over some of these games coming up as we welcome in Double R1L, Steve Merrill in the house, Teddy Covers ready to roll, and Rob, Mr. I never met an over. I didn't like to play there. You hear me, Kansas Vino? Way to go there, Rob Vino, last night, gentlemen. Welcome in here, off and running already on this day with Northwestern still holding on, by the way, 56-52 with about 3 minutes to go in that one. Baylor, despite some of the naysayers, running away with this 63-43 right now with about 11 minutes to go in that one. San Diego State 27-16 over UAB, and Marquette with the reigning Big East Player of the Year, Kolek in uniform on the court, 8-7 early in that one. Big shout out to those of you joining us live here today on this March Madness Friday. We'll cover the games that are going live. We're going to talk about some of the games coming up. We're going to answer any questions you guys may have. So drop them in the chat rooms, and let's roll with a game coming up a little bit later this afternoon here. Double R1L, Steve Merrill. Everybody loves to fade the Mountain West, including myself. And I think after last night's results, most people understand why. Let's talk about New Mexico, which seems to be the most popular Mountain West pick here of a lot of folks taking on Clemson. How are you approaching this game coming up a little bit later?
Yeah, Joe, that's why I wanted to talk about this game. It starts in about an hour, so I wanted to give a little bit of love to the live TV viewers here on Friday. But another reason I wanted to talk about this game is the point you just made, is that the Mountain West has historically underperformed, and there's no way a Mountain West team can beat an ACC in the oh, wait a second. Tuesday night, Colorado State manhandles Virginia. But we'll see what happens in this one. And the other reason I wanted to talk about this game is in my bracket, which I put out for all my clients at WagerTalk, I did have New Mexico winning this game as the 12 seed, okay? And they are a 2.5-point favorite, so that's really not an upset. It's an upset by seeding, but not by point spread, or 11 seed rather. And the 11 seeds have done very well. You know, the 12-5 used to be the upset pick. Over the last 5 years or so, the 11-6 has been, and we saw a couple 11s advance yesterday on Thursday already. But I want to revisit this game now from a different perspective. I did my video on Thursday, my Fade the Public video, and I asked all the viewers to chime in with their double-digit seed that they thought could make the Sweet 16. Obviously, I got hundreds of responses, got a lot of different feedback, but the majority of people, Joe, took New Mexico. So ding, 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 red flag alert. I think this might become a little bit of a public team here, and all of a sudden nobody wants anything to do with Clemson. The other thing that caught my eye about this game is yesterday I had a best bet winner on Michigan State to start the day off right, a nice winning Thursday overall. And I always like to take these teams that nobody thought should have made the tournament that are single-digit seeds, and Clemson kind of fits the role as well. You know, they finished behind UVA, who's the number 3 team in the ACC tournament, and UVA had to play the play-in game. NC State makes it because they win 5 in 5 days, and no one's talking about Clemson all of a sudden. This game didn't make my best bet card, but Clemson, if they can slow it down, could be dangerous here. And I only make the line 2, so I think at 2.5 or more, there is some value with Clemson, and tempo is going to be the key. So I do think a Clemson under or a New Mexico over 2-team parlay are somewhat correlated. And normally I do like these slow-down teams. Clemson has dogs against up-tempo teams like New Mexico. Problem is, though, the Lobos have been able to dictate tempo better than most this year and speed games up. But I do think New Mexico over, Clemson under is probably the way to play this if you're looking at it.
Yeah, they had a couple of awful games early in the year, Steve, that just kind of skewed everyone's perception of Clemson. But that's a team that beat North Carolina on the road, and if it wasn't for the refs, would have taken Duke down as well. So that's a big game coming up here. And Teddy Covers in the house. Teddy, you're going to break down one of my favorite games of the today, so I can't wait to hear which direction you're going here, because if the theme is public love and public dog and trendy dog, then we got maybe the biggest one of the day here with James Madison taking on Wisconsin coming up later tonight here. Teddy Covers, break this game down for us. How should we approach this one?
Well, let's see. The popular underdogs yesterday were Colorado State. They had 11 points at halftime. Morehead State got run out in the second half. They were a real popular dog. Akron was another one. Creighton hit shots. They failed to cover. And I would not be surprised if James Madison, too, is another popular underdog that does not end up getting the money. I'm going to start a little bit with Wisconsin because, look, Wisconsin's a scrappy team. They don't have that much upside in this tournament, but they're certainly a team that is very capable of winning a first-round game and perhaps even a second-round game as well. And Wisconsin had a late season slump from the beginning of February through the beginning of March. They went, 2-7 straight up, 0-9 against the spread. Any betting bandwagon they had dissipated into thin air. And since then, all they've done is cover every single number, except for in the finale of the Big Ten championship game against Illinois, where they may well have deserved to cover the number, even though they ended up losing by 6. Nonetheless, they've been consistently undervalued in recent weeks. James Madison won on the very first day of the season. They beat Michigan State. And it was like, wow, James Madison. And they beat Michigan State in a game where they committed 32 fouls and didn't shoot that well. What happened in that ball game? Sparty was 1 of 20 from three-point range. And it was the opening game of the season. From that single victory, all right, James Madison's like, oh, they could beat Michigan State on the road. They're fine. They're great. This team hasn't been an underdog in any game since they beat Michigan State and then they beat Kent State the next day or the next game. Since that second game of the season, they've been favored in every single game except one that was on the road at App State, a game they lost and failed to cover. I think there's a little bit too much love for this Dukes team. I think Wisconsin primed to win by margin. If I'm playing, I'm laying.
Amen to that, Teddy. All right, Wisconsin, it is here taking on JMU. That's coming up a little bit later. Big shout out to the chat rooms across multiple platforms here on this Friday. Shout out to Instagram. Good to see you guys. YouTube Shorts in the house, as well as Facebook and Twitter. And, of course, you guys know the routine. We're going to break down a few games. We are absolutely going to give a couple of best bets, and then we're going to answer as many questions as you guys have about the upcoming games here today as we keep an eye on a number of games that are currently underway right now, including FAU tying it up with Northwestern. And let's not forget here, our good friends from Baylor are really starting to annoy me. 63-47. Plenty of time left in that game, though, as we've got Rob Vino ready to roll here today. And Rob, we are going to talk about another late night game here tonight with another one of our favorite groups to fade. The Mountain West Brigade rolls on here with Utah State tonight, taking on Jamie Dixon and TCU. Big 12 taking on Mountain West. Vino, how are we approaching this one?
Well, I really drilled this one down, Joe, to the point where I'm going to play Utah State over their team total of 72.5 in this game. A few reasons why. There's some advantages here for Utah State, the Mountain West team, one coming from the free throw line. If you look at TCU throughout the Big 12 season, it's a team that didn't get to the free throw line very much, and it's a team that allowed a lot of free throws. They were number 7 in Big 12 free throw rate, about middle of the road. Utah State in the Mountain West didn't allow a lot of free throws. They were the third best at keeping teams off the charity stripes, so you got a good matchup there for Utah State. And then if you look at Utah State's offense, they were number 2 in the Mountain West in free throw rate. A lot of that due to Great Osibor, the big guy in the middle. But TCU put a lot of people on the charity stripe, and that's been a common theme of them. I'm going to say the last 2-3 years, they do foul quite a bit. I mean, it's a contact league, it's a physical league, so you have to take some of that into consideration. They were 8th out of 14 teams, so maybe Utah State gets to the free throw line. I mentioned Great Osibor, not a good free throw shooter. Only 63%, from the line. And he got there 267 times, more than anybody else on the squad. However, their starting guard tandem, Darius Brown, Ian Martinez, those two guys both shoot 86%, and they're 2 and 3 in free throw attempts on the season. So it's always who gets to the free throw line, not necessarily what the team overall free throw percentage is. For TCU, Team free throw percentage is pretty good overall. But I like Utah State to make some hay at the free throw line. And then I think just a combination of Utah State's ability to shoot the basketball, number one in effective field goal percentage in the Mountain West this year, which had some really good defensive teams. Number one in effective field goal percentage, number one in 2-point percentage against a TCU team that likes pace, 31st quickest in the country. So when you start combining really good shooting with quicker tempo, obviously equal sign says more scoring opportunities, and we like that. We're looking at Utah State over 72.5. TCU is allowed over 72.5 in 3 of their last 4. The only reason I mention that is because these last, half dozen games of the season are generally the second or third time around against an opponent. You should play better defense at that point, not worse. TCU didn't get any better. Like I say, allowed over this number, 72.5 in 3 of their last 4. Utah State scored over 72.5 in 6 of their last 10, 4 of their last 5. So they're a pretty good offensive team. I think all this stuff adds up. The site here is Indianapolis NBA Arena. Probably a good spot for shooting background. You always worry about that a little bit, but I think there's going to be enough pace. Utah State shoots it good enough inside and out, penetrate inside and out enough. And when you get these teams that are good offensively, like both of these are, and you get them loose and free from the the binds of their own conference opponents, generally they're tough to prepare for. So I'm going to take Utah State here to get at least to 73 points in this game against TCU tonight.
Yeah, again, Utah State just completely. I don't even know. They're here. Congratulations. But, man, that record is misleading. And they're going up. Styles make fights, right? Vino and TCU makes a majority of their points inside the 2-point range, and that's where they are not good defensively there, that being Utah State. So the number 3.5 hovering around there on the side certainly seems tempting enough. And we're in the final 30 seconds here, guys. It's a 2-point FAU lead on Northwestern as a quick television timeout here. But FAU trying to hold on and advance as an 8 seed. And all is well in the world, Teddy, with the Baylor Bears. Just want you to know that they are doing exactly what we had hoped in game number 22.5 right now. They're laying on Colgate. And San Diego State, by the way, beginning to open up the lead 28-18 right now with 6 minutes to go in the first half on UAB. A big shout out to Killer J, John, Rob, Titan CT in the house, and the rest of you joining us here in the chat room. Hit that like button if you get a chance. We certainly would appreciate it. Drop any questions you have about some of these games coming up. We'll get to as many as we can as we're going to bring it back full circle here to 1RR. 1L. That's Steve Merrill ready to roll for a best bet here tonight. And Merrill, before you do that, any of these games currently going? Were you in on any of these games? UAB, San Diego State, Marquette, Western Kentucky, Colgate, Baylor?
Yeah, so I had 5 best bets for Friday. Only one of them has started. It was UAB. They're down 10-11 right now, so not looking great. But I'll tell you what, Joe, these games are so random. It really is an emotional roller coaster. I had 7 plays last night, and it could have gone anywhere from 6-1 to 2-5. I ended up 4-3. I'll take it. But so many games. Arizona, Teddy and I talked about it yesterday. We both had Arizona lost by a half because of a missed free throw. Had Dayton, wasn't looking good. Then they came back to win. So, hey, 2-1 for the day. And then on the nighttime card, I had Samford. I had Texas Tech. I had Washington State. It was looking like 0-3, ended up 2-1. I mean, it's just all over the place. Once again, long-term perspective, I preach it more than anybody, I think, but it just shows why I hate watching these games. And look, I watch them as a fan, but regular season, I don't watch them because I don't need this up and down roller coaster. I need to see what happens afterwards, and then I reassess. And, man, it is March Madness for a reason. And sad thing is, I think most people enjoy that. I personally do not.
Yeah, I'm with you here, Sarah. It is the randomness, the variance. It is a bit head scratching here across the board, but still plenty of games left to go here in March Madness. Got a full slate here tonight. Give me a game here that you're leaning towards as a best bet coming up.
Yes, I do have a late afternoon game still going and also 3 nighttime games. So that 4-for-1 special is still available. If you're joining us later, the 3-for-1 nighttime special is available. Also, I highly recommend a direct subscription so you get Saturday and Sundays. Hey, how about a 3-day pass? Great time to try one of those 3-day all access passes. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. But let's look at a free play also on the nighttime card. A game that was just a bit outside from making the cut, and it's the Duke Blue Devils minus the 12.5. Now, my power ratings only favor Duke by 11. I don't like giving up a basket in line value, but I still think Duke is the only way to play this game for a couple reasons. First of all, whenever laying double digits here in the first round, you always want to look for the motivated team, and there's no question Duke will not overlook this game. Not only did they just lose as an 11-point favorite to the hottest team in basketball, the NC State Wolfpack, but they also lost to North Carolina the week before that as a home favorite. So back-to-back losses, both straight up and against the spread, will ensure a focused effort tonight against Vermont, who's a big-name mid-major team. They've only made the Sweet 16 once in the history of the school, but they're still known for some tournament success. And look, they've been a favorite now in 19 of their last 20 games, and this is a huge step up in class, to say the least, for the Catamounts. And they haven't exactly stepped up well in class this year. In fact, one of the last times they were a dog was back in mid-December. They lost to another ACC team on the road by 22 points. That was Virginia Tech away from home. They also struggled in some other non-conference games. They lost to Colgate, who was getting blown out by Baylor as we speak, lost by them by 6 at home as a favorite. So I do think this is a monumental step up in class for Vermont, and I don't think they'll handle it well. Now, the Catamounts do play extremely slow, and that is another reason I left this off my official card tonight. But Duke has been a much slower half-court team this season, the last couple of seasons since Coach K departed, and I think they're comfortable playing this style, and they have a substantial offensive edge. Vermont is a slow half-court team that plays better defense, mediocre offense. And bad teams, when they get behind, they have trouble scoring. We've seen it so much in the tournament. UVA, extreme half-court team, had only 14 points on Tuesday night. And then Colorado, the team that beat them, had only 11 last night at halftime. I don't like backing bad offensive teams as dogs, and I think Vermont is very mediocre at best. Look at Duke minus the 12.5. That goes at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight. If you want my 3 strongest plays and a late afternoon game, 4-pack still available for Friday, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Also, check out my Fade the Public video, which is on WagerTalk TV for Friday, and also all 8 NBA games. Don't forget about the NBA. I did a video analyzing all 8 NBA games tonight as well. That's free right here on WagerTalk TV. So click subscribe and click that bell as well for instant alerts.
Yeah, unbelievable game right now. Northwestern ties it up it looks like, did it get it? Some unbelievable this. It does look like with about 8 seconds left to go, FAU is going to try to get this thing done, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to, coming off on the last shot, and we got ourselves overtime, guys. I think the first overtime game, Teddy, right? In the tournament, I think we're heading in now. Yes. Did we miss an overtime game somewhere last night? No.
My brain is fried, but no, there was nothing OT yesterday. I'm remembering stuff from earlier in the week. Grambling, the Grambling game went to OT. That's a tourney game.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and kudos to them, by the way. That was a hell of a comeback for them. But 58 apiece. So those of you that might have had the under are probably going to have to sweat the next 5 minutes or so as that comes up there. Baylor, 80-62. Enough said with that there, Teddy. We also have UAB trying to close the gap against San Diego State, 31-22. We've got a bunch of questions we're going to get to in the chat room here in just a second, Teddy, but you got a best bet that you're going to lay out for us here tonight. Which one of these upcoming games might you be leaning towards?
Let's talk about Purdue and Grambling. Number 1 versus the number 16 seed. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, Purdue minus 27, total sitting in the 139 range. Now, let me give you guys an all access real quick. We got a promo code, Teddy7. It's going to get you $30 off a 7-day all access pass. I always say, don't buy a play, buy a package. It's a great opportunity to get on board for the next 7 days. Take $30 off. Just use promo code Teddy7 at checkout. So we talk about number 16 seeds. Grambling stands out as a particularly bad one. All right. They're the weakest team in the field, or one of the weakest teams in the field, with Stetson's right there. But when we look at what they've done in step up in class games, it's been one blowout loss after the next. They were plus 26.5 against Florida. They lost by 39. They were plus 21.5 against Dayton. They lost that game by 30. They were plus 27 at Iowa State. They lost that game 92-37. They were plus 23.5 at Colorado. They lost that game by 32. I know those are paycheck games for Grambling, but that, my friends, is a track record of letting go of the rope when you get punched in the mouth. And they're going to get punched in the mouth here. Make no mistake about it. Now we have a Purdue team that became only the second number 1 seed to lose their opening round game to a 16 seed in NCAA tournament history last year. What do we expect from Purdue this time around? We expect focus. We expect motivation. And we know that Purdue has a legitimate chance to write a comparable narrative to the one that Virginia wrote, who was the first team that lost in the opening round. Virginia went on to win a national title the following year. And Rob Vino's talked about it a couple times on today's show. It's the truth. You face one tough Big Ten defense after the next for the better part of 3 months, and now you're facing a lesser foe. Purdue's going to light up the scoreboard here. I don't think Grambling can trade points with them at any point. And the Boilermakers, 6-2 against the spread at minus 17.5 or higher this year. And both losses came by less than a bucket. They've proven themselves capable of winning by big margins. I think this one gets ugly early. Purdue first half, Purdue full game, however you want to bet them. The Boilermakers take care of business.
Oh, I love it there. I mean, big shout out to Grambling for coming back, getting it done in that game, Teddy, like you said, but come on. There's levels to this here, and they're not even remotely close to that level here. But I like Baylor, who seems to be handling their business pretty well here tonight. And also, Rob Vino, you're going to take a look at this game for a best bet. Only you're going to focus on the total. It's shocking right now here, Vino, that you'd look at the total in this game here. And if I had to make a bet, I would say we're probably looking for some points in this one. Is that fair?
If we weren't, Joe, they'd probably have to pull the plug on our show if I don't have an over for you here. Probably have to be looking for another outlet to do these analysis. Teddy laid out a bunch of it. I mean, maybe we can parlay together and both pick up a win here. For Purdue, they're just such a classic bully team, guys. Let me just go through what they did to teams that were overmatched in the non-conference this year. 98 points against Samford, 98-45. Samford, we just saw push Kansas to the brink last night. Morehead State played Illinois tight for about 30 minutes, 87 against them. 83 against Xavier, 99 against Texas Southern. Sorry, Robert. Texas Southern happens to be the team that Grambling beat to win the SWAC. 100 against Jacksonville, 80 against Eastern Kentucky. Every single one of those 7 games I just rattled off, the total went over the number given tonight, 139. Only one time didn't it? That was the Eastern Kentucky game, 80-53. Hit 133. If I look at the other side of that equation, Grambling, always known, like Texas Southern is, for taking on a really tough non-conference schedule. They played some really good defenses and some really good teams. Colorado, 95-63, up and over the number. They get blown out, but the game goes over the number. Iowa State, give up 92. Washington State, give up 83. Florida, give up 96. Again, there's 6 games here where they played teams that are inside the tournament right now, the NCAA tournament. 4 of those 6 went over the number that were given tonight, 139. The only 2 that didn't were Iowa State. They happen to own the second best defense, defensive efficiency-wise, in the nation. And the other one that didn't was the Drake game, because Drake plays very slow pace and good defense. So the other 4, all way over. Purdue's going to bully them the way Teddy suggested. They have no answer for Edey. And it's a perfect game, Joe, for these surrounding parts, which everybody is so worried about attempting to win 6 games. Mason Gillis, Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, all these guys that shoot threes when things are fun and easy will probably make a bunch of threes tonight because it's going to be fun and easy. For Grambling, I think what I looked at in this game is I said, can this team possibly get to 60 points against Purdue tonight? Purdue's allowed 60 or more points in 13 straight games. I know they're Big Ten games. A couple of bad offenses in the Big Ten, right? They give 60 to Rutgers. Rutgers doesn't play a lot of offense. And if Purdue pulls guys late, Grambling has showed you that there's no let up in them, as evidenced by the comeback the other night. And when you're behind, you might refer to their pace. Oh, Grambling plays slow. We saw the other night, when you're behind, you can't play slow anymore. Your season's on the line. So speed it up a little bit because Purdue's going to get out early. I think you'll find pace, easy points for Purdue, plenty of them, probably 88 plus. On the other side, I probably only need 58, but I'll shoot for 60 here. I think this game gets over 139. The money pushed it a half a point. I think you could have got 138 and a half earlier. Now we're up to about 139. Grambling Purdue up and over that total.
Up and over here. So we got a side, we got a total in that Grambling game, and we have an FAU team who wishes they did not go to overtime. 70-59 right now. The FAU Owls are handling business. Big shout out to Instagram. Atomic Warren wants to know, is UAB going to come back here, Merrill? I am seeing an in-game number. I don't know, what did it close at? 7.5. I'm seeing 33-28. The in-game number is 8.5, somewhere around there, 9. If you hadn't gone pre-flop, would you get involved now?
Here's my prediction, Joe. It was 7. It was 6, went to 7, closed 6. My prediction is San Diego State's going to win by either 6 or 7 points. I can just see how this is playing out because, as I told you earlier, I hate watching these games. Yep. This one's going to go down to the wire. So I'm neutral on it now. UAB's got a shot. I want to weigh in on the Northwestern Florida Atlantic game here. And this is something people can use going forward with in-game betting. Florida Atlantic found a way not to win this game. They were up 2 in regulation, and they got fouled. The big guy misses the front end of a one-on-one. They could have gone up 4. The game's over. Northwestern goes down and gets the layup, a nice layup with about 15, 18 seconds left. And then it's about 6 seconds left. And Florida Atlantic's point guard walks the ball up the court and settles for a contested 3 like they had the lead. It was a debacle at the end. And not surprisingly, Northwestern comes out and scores like the first 6 or 8 points to run away with this game. Just something to keep an eye on in any other overtime games we might get here in the tournament. Momentum is a real thing, and Florida Atlantic really found a way not to win this game in regulation.
Yeah, no, they really did. Not to mention that Golden absolutely, what an acting job there to get a foul, to go to the foul line, acting like he got punched in the face. And meanwhile, the replay shows he got no such punch in the face, but he missed the free throw anyway, Teddy. So not a great job by him there, but it does look like they are toast here, as 2-Bit of Golf there says on Instagram. So it's a 70-61 game, a minute 27 to go. Baylor up 23 now, Teddy. We do have a couple of questions about some of the games coming up a little bit later. I'll fire them off, and Teddy, if you want to take them or pass them on, whatever you'd like to do. But Colorado and Florida seem to be a big topic of conversation here in the chat rooms. We know the big man for Florida out. We know Colorado. Well, we know Boise State would have shot better than 3 for 700 in the game. We might not be talking about Colorado here. So what do you think of Colorado's chances of in a second game here taking on Florida?
I think, look, the line tells you Colorado's live. It's a pick'em game. They've taken every sharp dollar that there is, and I think the injury for Florida matters. So it's a Colorado or pass scenario for me. We've seen the teams come out of the play-in game and have some success in every recent tournament. Colorado certainly has that potential this year. And Florida's vulnerable. Florida's low post defense just isn't there. I lean over in this game more than the side. But I wouldn't talk anyone out of looking at the Buffaloes. But a lot of these pick'em type games, -1, +1, tournament time, we can expect this game to come down to the wire. I don't think there's a big margin for either squad in this one. My lean much more towards the total than the side. I like over.
Liking over in that game coming up. Can't say we argue there. And then another big conversation here, Vino, is it looks like Nebraska and Texas A&M is another big topic. Buzz, right, going at it there against Hoiberg, 2 teams you've talked a lot about on this show throughout the season. It usually with Nebraska talks about an over, and it looks like A&M has made that shift to say the hell with defense and rebounding. We got to score points here. So it does feel like an over in this spot, but what are you looking at here with Nebraska and A&M?
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe, right? Because Buzz Williams' team, it couldn't hit water if they were in a boat with a dozen basketballs. And all of a sudden, that SEC tournament, now, is it a testament to how lousy the opposing SEC defenses are? Could very well be. Is it just that Texas A&M found a shooting stroke late in the season? They did play quicker. They actually played right with these teams and played into their hands and performed really, really well. They crush the glass. If you know anything about A&M, you know that that's generally their best offense is throw it up, go get it, and stick it back in. Nebraska's going to have to be ready for that. Are they battle tested enough on the glass out of the Big Ten? Probably. But Nebraska can shoot it. And I don't want to bet against any Fred Hoiberg team in this tournament because he's finally turned that offense around. It took him a little bit, but they shoot it really, really well. And the chance for A&M to go into a scoring drought in this game is greater than it is for Nebraska. I tend to agree, though, that with the money move here toward the over, I think that, if all things work out as they look on paper, it should get up and over the total. But the one thing that would obviously hold me back is if A&M goes into one of those 6-minute stretches where they just can't score, and then it could be lights out for them. Preference on the side would be Nebraska. Preference on the total would be the over, but I would be a little bit leery of that because of the A&M side.
Yeah, Freddie Rojas jumping in the chat here, and I believe, Merrill, this was your first game that you covered here was with New Mexico Clemson coming up at 3 o'clock. You want to give him the Cliff Notes version of what you're thinking with Clemson and New Mexico coming up?
Yeah, I make the line 2. It's currently around 2.5, so I think there's a little bit of value with Clemson. But the more I've looked at this game this week, even though I did initially have New Mexico in my bracket to win it, I think Clemson's a dangerous dog if they can slow things down. And it looks like New Mexico's becoming a pretty public pick all of a sudden to be a Sweet 16 double-digit seed, which concerns me. But once again, Clemson under, New Mexico over, I think are both correlated depending on how you want to play it.
Teddy, are you kind of shocked here right now? Some people yelling and screaming about Marquette only up 31-28 on Western Kentucky. I mean, they have done plenty of basketball to be played here, but you would have had to have laid, I think, 13, 14 points pregame. I think the in-game number is 16.5 right now. And Marquette will at some point figure this out here, I think. What do you?
So, first of all, I'm having a good show that the plays are winning while we're on air. Baylor is now gone final, which one with
extend the show.
I felt like we were going to have to sweat it. We didn't. Northwestern isn't final yet, but they look pretty comfortable in the final minute, up double digits against Florida Atlantic. So it's been a good show for me so far as the games are coming in like they're supposed to come in, which is the way I predicted them. I really had no opinion on this Marquette Western Kentucky game. I didn't come close to making a bet. It wasn't on my short list. I had no idea if Marquette was going to be able to light up the scoreboard or not in Kolek's first game back. The slight lean was to the over, but the total was already high and actually got bet down before the opener. So it wasn't a game that I was close to making a bet. It wasn't a game I had any opinion on. And certainly, I'll just say this. When the star player comes back, it doesn't automatically mean that everything clicks on all cylinders right away. So from a side standpoint, I don't know that for me at least, I would not necessarily be betting Marquette in game, but I haven't watched any of it. I'll be doing college basketball show instead. I can't have the games on, dude. If I had the games on right now,
you'd be a mess.
There'd be
yes.
There'd be no attention being paid. So I have.
You would be an absolute mess.
Yeah. I can only watch. I can only score. I mean, in real life, I have. As soon as I get off air, all 3 TVs go on, and we're watching the rest of the day. But while I'm on air, I just can't do it. I get a little bit too distracted.
74-63 now, 24 seconds left, Northwestern and Florida Atlantic. I would imagine 137. I think that total, Vino, was 142, 141, somewhere in that ballpark. Does that sound about right? Because that's got to be right now. Anybody sitting with the under has just got to be bent out of shape right now.
And you got to wonder. I mean, Florida Atlantic all season long, Joe, right? They and San Diego State go deep in the tourney last year, way further than expected. Bring a lot of guys back And Florida Atlantic, every game they played, you see money move their way. The games they played against
Mm-hmm.
South Florida, no matter who was in the upper upper echelon of the AAC this year, when Florida Atlantic played them, the money
Yeah.
obviously respected Florida Atlantic for no real good reason because they didn't give them any reason to respect them all season long. And here they are blowing an opening round game to Chris Collins and Northwestern, who are always going to play with heart. You have to wonder about the kids on FAU if they're really focused on this season. And Dustin May, who was everybody's dream coach last year, as he's pushing them to Elite Eight, Final Four, certainly not meeting expectations this year. I'm going to backtrack real quick here, Joe, to what
Sure.
you asked Teddy about Marquette and Western Kentucky, only because I was involved in two different ways. Talked about it with Teddy the other day on Wager Talk today. I played a future on Marquette to make it to the Sweet 16. They were minus $1.35. The general rule of thought for me was, normally when we talk about playing teams to go deep in tournaments, right? Don't take the future odds. Just roll it over,
Yeah.
roll it over. But when you're only have to win two games, in the first game you're minus 1100, you don't roll it over. You play minus 135.
Right.
I did obviously Wager Talk today. Teddy's job description is to challenge at the end and at least give you some concern. And the concern was exactly that. Tyler Kolek, will everything be rosy when he comes back? And you don't expect it to be rosy when he comes back, but they should be good enough to win this game. In Western Kentucky, for what it's worth, the style that they play, until you face them for a half, it's probably difficult to prepare for. Even though Marquette plays quick, Western Kentucky is just ultra quick. For the individual game, I played the Western Kentucky team total over 70.5. It just looked low for a team that races up and down the floor. And even if Marquette wins by margin, the total's telling you that this game could easily be, like an 88-72 or something like that. So I thought their team total was low. Hopefully they can score enough to get to 71. Hopefully Marquette can win the game. Then I'll be live with 2 tickets.
All right. So the total was 142 in the Northwest and Florida Atlantic. We know that because John Finley and others in one of the chat rooms is pulling his hair out right now watching this game go to the end here. And John, we feel for you, man. Been there, done this. 74-63, still 24 seconds left to go in here. And a big shout out, Teddy. Young Brando's on Instagram right now, sending you a big shout out, says appreciate all the knowledge over the last couple of years. He says he's learned a lot from you. So big shout out there. Young Brando's there on the Instagram chat. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Hit the like button here, guys. We certainly appreciate it. Become part of the Wager Talk TV family, whether it be Instagram, YouTube Shorts, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We certainly appreciate it. We got one more coming in, actually, from a few people here. So, Merrill, I'll send it to you. We'll get your final thoughts on the way out of here. Houston taking their foot off the second half worries people with their game coming up here. I've always looked at Houston as a first half team. Under Sampson, they punch you in the mouth. They're bullies. That's what they do. So, I don't know that the full game is the best way to approach this, but 23.5, would you be worried about Houston coming in off a loss, by the way, would take their foot off against Longwood?
No, it's the exact opposite, actually. I'd be less worried they're going to take their foot off the gas because they are coming off that bad loss. Keep in mind, their best player was out also against Iowa State. Longwood likes to play slow half-court basketball. Thing is, Houston loves to play that way. So whenever you get two teams playing the same style, whether it's fast or slow, I always think it favors the better team. The concern, though, laying 24 is if it is a slow-down game with a total of 128, really difficult to, get to that margin. The first half line is 15, full game 24. So obviously they've priced in what you're talking about. And we have seen some of these number one seeds start a little bit slow. Obviously, Carolina did not cover the first half line yesterday. They covered the full game. Now, Wagner had played 2 nights earlier. We'll see if Purdue is in that same predicament today against Grambling team that just played. But I like Houston full game. It's the only way I'll play it. I made the line 21.5, so it was a little pricey for me. That's why I didn't make the cut, but it'd be Houston or pass. They should be fully focused.
77-65 Northwestern and
Wow.
Florida Atlantic. So if you got the hook, You're in good shape. If you didn't, that's a bit
Don't watch
of a
these games,
problem.
people, unless you want to die 5
yes.
years sooner. I don't know if I only said that 20 minutes ago, but goddamn was I right. I had nothing in this game,
That's
luckily.
the truth. Unbelievable.
That's
Rob
tough,
Lynch,
man.
we
That's
appreciate
a tough way to lose.
Oh, my goodness.
Brutal,
In
because as you
overtime.
know, Teddy, Florida Atlantic
dude.
should have won the game in
We're following
regulation.
down 12 with 18 seconds left.
What are you doing, Teddy?
That's a tough way to lose, man. I feel.
How many points did FAU
right
score in this overtime? 6? Like, how many points did they score?
It was 58 all. I think it was 58 all, wasn't it? So it was 116.
Yes, 58 all.
I think it was 116 going into overtime. So you're going under by 26 points still. You almost needed double overtime to lose. Wow.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Well, that's why they call it madness here, people.
And that's why most people bet on
about.
Sports and they enjoy this roller coaster bowl. And,
that's
it's
it.
terrible for you, folks.
Bottom line.
Go walk outside.
Go ahead, Teddy.
The best line shot, if you got the best of the number, no sweat, dude. 142.5, 143, 143.5.
You're good.
Well, maybe a little bit of sweat. But once again, betting skills trumping handicapping skills for this particular game when it comes to the total.
No question. Line value.
Never in doubt, GC.
Yep. Welcome to madness. My goodness.
By the way, this game didn't matter at all, Joe, because they play UConn on Saturday or Sunday, so none of this mattered.
No, that's I agree with you 100% there. We do have again, guys, plenty of games coming up. Steve told you 4 games still available over at his page. Teddy, you locked and loaded. How many more games you got coming up here today over on your page?
I got a pair in the association. A pair in the college ranks and 1 in the association. So 3 plays still remaining, although you did get 1 of them. Purdue, a client play for me this evening.
Outstanding. Give that code one more time, Teddy. What's the code to hop on board with you?
Yeah. We entered the dance riding a 13-2 college basketball run. We've been running real good the last week. Yesterday, Arizona wasn't as pretty. Was a real frustrating loss and turned into a losing day. That said, we're 2-0 so far today. That's the final now for Northwestern. And the promo code Teddy7 will get you $30 off a 7-day all-access pass. Just use Teddy7 at checkout.
That's the way to do it. And Rob Vino, how many are you locked and loaded in here, my man, for the rest of the day?
We're locked and loaded, Joe, with 4 presently. There will be 2 more big NBA play. But the biggest thing to note is I looked back. I hadn't released a 5% college basketball play in 2 years. And I have one today. So let's hope all goes well here. Looking at Teddy mentioned he doesn't have monitors on during a show. I've got monitors all over the place, but I can't watch the YouTube chat during the show because I get too distracted by the chat room. So I never watch that. Western Kentucky. Now what?
I got 5 chats. I'm trying to monitor here. So you think you got monitor issues? I got all sorts of monitor issues. I got all sorts of problems. 5% best bet with Rob Vino. Get over there. Merrill in the house. In fact, hang around in an hour, guys. We'll see you so at the NBA tip-off show here. Still a slate of games and some opportunities to make a few bucks there as well. So we've got plenty going on. Want to thank all the guys for hanging out. Don't forget, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Drop us a comment below. Let us know who your favorite play of the day is, and then come back and join us. Of course, another edition of Last Call coming up tomorrow before tip-off, and the NBA tip-off show just an hour away. So come back and join us. Guys, listen, best of luck with all your plays. Shout out to the guys in Instagram. We appreciate you. Shout out to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You guys are the best. Best of luck with those plays. Cash some tickets, guys. We'll see you again soon. Good luck.